Right, before the break, we asked you, should the media be allowed to announce election results before the Electoral Commission? Should the media be allowed to announce election results before the Election Commission? And just to read some of the responses here, one, Ronald K. Clinton says, never, we don't want confusion and fake news. One, Biko Obimbo says that what media houses or any other persons need to do is to declare the relaying as provisional results until returning officer declares them. Well, right now moving ahead, 3 men accused of violently robbing, stripping and sexually assaulting a female passenger 3 years ago at a petrol station in Githurai 44 have been sentenced to death. Nairobi Chief Magistrate Francis Andai directed Edward Gitau, Nicholas Mwangi and Meshak Mwangi to face death for the offence, which he described as most heinous. The court handed the matatu driver, his conductor and a pump attendant at Millennium Petrol Station the sentence, saying the prosecution had proven the case against the accused persons beyond any reasonable doubt. For the offence of sexually assaulting the woman, the court ordered the convicts to serve a jail term of 25 years each, but they will remain in abeyance if they are hanged. The death sentence in Kenya has since been commuted to a life sentence, and meanwhile, meaning that they will spend the rest of their lives behind bars. While handing the sentences, Magistrate Andai said it was important to respect all human beings because we're equal, but it is equally important to respect the dignity of a woman. Now, I'll start with you, Rosalind, as this is a gender issue. I know that's very cliche of me, but let me just do it anyhow. This happened a few years ago, and there was outrage, and there was the My Dress, My Choice movement that rose out of it. And many people came up to say that this is a common occurrence of women being harassed on matatus and on buses, etc., etc. So do you think this is a fair ruling coming down for the court, a life sentence for robbery with violence and sexual assault?
I agree with the court. I agree with the magistrate that indeed I think it's high time we handed over very serious penalties that will act as deterrents, because these are incidences that happen every day. We go to court, people are either given bond, they're bailed out. Some of the MPs have tried to introduce some of this legislation in Parliament, and remember the tyranny where we have the men in Parliament. It has not always gone anywhere. You remember the bill introduced by Busia County MP, Florence Mutua. At least it was heading towards keeping these people off, but nothing happened. So coming from the courts, I think it is sending a very strong message that if you think you can do such, you can attack women, then the courts are there for you. You will not have it easy. And I think it is setting a precedent so that the other people who are also facing the same cases will equally face the same.
Yeah. Rajab, do you think it was too harsh to hand them a death sentence, or is this what they deserve?
I think that's what they deserve, because one, these cases mostly have been collapsing because of lack of evidence. We should also thank the police officers who really pieced together this evidence. The court or the judge said it was proven beyond reasonable doubt. And that's what we need in cases. So when people are found guilty, they're prosecuted and jailed. That should be the culture, the Kenyan culture, that no one can just abuse you and go scot-free or buy himself his way out. I'm just wondering what happened. There is an MP who assaulted a lady.
Yes.
Where did this case go? Is it because these guys are nobodies and they couldn't buy their way out? Because those cases should be treated equally. If you are an MP, if you assault a woman or you break the law, you should be taken through the same procedure. I don't know where that case went.
Beyond that, even Millie Odhiambo, I think, alleged that she was actually assaulted within the precincts of Parliament by another MP, and we haven't seen anything come of that either. So this interesting point that Rajab raises here about the rich-poor divide. On the other hand, we're seeing institutions working in this particular case, Danish. So we are seeing that we can have independent institutions in this country to actually do their job.
I think let us celebrate this victory for these people who actually did the heinous act, regardless of whether they were poor or not. Let's celebrate this victory.
Right. So
that it can send a strong message to people who are out there who want to perpetrate violence against any gender, whether woman or man. But on that point, I agree with you. I believe that Rajab, you need to accept and move on, that this country is for two specific people, the rich and the poor. They breathe the different air. One is polluted, one is clean. They have two sets of laws that are different for them, and they drive on different roads. Accept and move on, my brother. That's the country we live in.
Very quickly, Oruko.
This spoke for me when he says we should celebrate this particular victory.
Right.
It is. Although I have a problem when you try to make it agenda issue. It's a societal problem. All of us have sisters, we have mothers, and we have cousins. And when they are assaulted in that particular way, it really annoys. So it's not necessarily gender.
Very true. It's a societal issue. Well, thanks, guys. Moving on now. Now, the much debated deputy presidential discussion failed to launch after just one candidate turned up for the event on Monday night. Eliud Muthiora Kariara, who is running alongside presidential candidate Japheth Kavinga, was the only man standing, and journalists were forced to direct all their questions at him for the duration of the debate. After such an epic fail, this is an opportune moment for introspection. The Fourth Estate must reflect on the very public snub and thoroughly reassess its mode of operation. Take a look at this footage from the failed debate.
You have got two guys you want to debate for 90 minutes. Then you have 6 people you want to debate for the same time on prime time. Now, if Kenyans on the election day, on the 8th of August, can stand in line and queue for a whole day to vote, what is so special about these 8 presidential candidates? Let us even stand on that line for the whole day and debate our ideas. Take breaks, come back, debate our ideas again. Even if we debate for 2 days, we are prepared to stand, because the presidency of the Republic of Kenya is not a light task. It's not a simple and cheap position.
We are not giving the debate team hard time. We are trying to ask them to consider what we are trying to tell them and not to stick to their guns and say it is either that or not. We are willing to come to the next level near them, and we adjust the time, and we afford the Kenyan people the opportunity to do the evaluation when it is time, right at the comfort of their homes.
You cannot force people to do things that they don't want to do, or to do things, or not to do things that they want to do. We have said that our running mates will be available at 7 o'clock for the 8 o'clock debate.
I do not represent any special interest group. Most of you have not known about me because I was not funded by any cartel. My president has no affiliations to any cartels in this nation. So when we assume office, you can be sure we won't have tenderpreneurs.
Right, before I start this, let me just read a response to our Twitter question. And one, Solomon Dada here is saying that we know that the media is capable, we know what the media is capable of. The entire media is compromised by the government, hence we can't buy into anything that they tell us. I'll start with you, Aruko, in the interest of gender balance and equity. In terms of this debate, the very next day, I think most of the national papers carried government advertising and political advertising even after that epic snub the day before. So is this a time for us to assess the relationship we have with the people, the men and women in power, and really reflect on whether we're doing our job, if we can come to a point where the political class can snub us so absolutely?
It's a very difficult question. But I think one of the, I was going through Twitter, and one person had commented something like the fourth, but weakest estate. So that's where we are. But to just answer your question in a very brief way is that actually it's true. It's now important that we need to review that relationship. Yeah, but then how do we do it? It has been a sustained kind of onslaught. It has been an onslaught, sustained. You look at, they have even defined how they are giving us those adverts. Okay, we didn't carry them. We are just like, I don't know, getting a lift, you know. We lift them. We carry some pull out from them. So the relationship has been strained, and this is the highest point or the lowest point of that strained relationship. Yeah, so
is this the logical conclusion of brown envelope journalism? Is this the point where
no.
I think have we been so compromised that they just feel that we can do what we want? They will still run our adverts. And they will still carry
of course it's the government. And before you are also confusing two issues. I think there's a journalist and there's the media, isn't it? Right?
Right. Journalists. The media is made up of journalists.
Yes. So the journalist is the individual. Media is the institution.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't think the idea of a brown envelope comes. But now we can go into the issues of ownership.
I think the brown envelope goes right to the very top.
Absolutely. Right. No, I didn't say it's not there. We are talking about the media, not the journalist here.
Right.
Because what was snubbed here was not the journalist. It was the media.
It was the media, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the media that was snubbed.
The media
But
was
again,
not, but the conduct of the media must come into question.
Yes,
right?
let me just finish by saying that also the whole thing around the planning and organization was also very questionable.
Yes.
For example, how did we come up with these two clusters that there are 4 people will come first and the other 2 will, those things. So the whole idea of organizing this thing had a lot of question marks.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, it's very unfortunate that a media that has been accused of taking sides in the presidential race or in the 2017 elections would dare want to come and say that we're going to hold a very objective debate. It's hogwash, absolutely hogwash. Secondly, the whole issue of ownership. We know who owns the media in this country and we know their interest. Who registered Debates Media Limited? Who owns it? That money for advertisement, where is it going to go to? How is that money going to be given out to individuals? But above all that, I think the issue, the day that we stopped being an activist kind of media that believed in the truth, but nothing but the absolute truth, we stopped. We were like a tiger that was used to hunting, but we became fat and we decided to come back home. And what we did was, in 2013, we decided to go and take tea with the president, the powers that be. We decided to become friends. We now love selfies when we meet the president or the deputy or whoever, we take selfies with them.
Right.
How then do you expect to have a moral authority? You've never seen engineers taking selfies with these people. Over their respect. You've never seen doctors doing all these things, or lawyers.
Yes, Danish.
But
Rosalind,
I think we are missing here the point. First of all, media in Kenya is, I think, 90% private owned. That is one. 2, we've had issues where the media is not able to get the money from the adverts from government. I think it was over $1 billion.
30%.
Yeah, 30%. Then the government came here with something, my government. Then we have citizen journalism, where we are competing with social media to also reach the same audience and readers that citizen journalism is also targeting. So for these people, even to organize this debate, did we bring these politicians on board? Because this was our own initiative. It was not the politicians' initiative. We came up with it, we set it up and called them. And they even complained on the mode or even the way, the rules of engagement, the way this thing was done. We ignored all this and we insisted that they have to come. So again, we need to re-examine ourselves and say, did we do the right thing to find us where we are now?
This is a good question. Why did they snub us?
Personally, I think we missed an opportunity to put these politicians to account. They were running away from accountability. In short, that's what they were running away from.
We ran away.
But they took advantage of our dependence relationship with them. And they say,
the selfie dependence.
After all, tomorrow they will still cover me when I'm doing my monologue, cheating around, and no one can really put me to account or ask questions. So this is a problem. This is a bed, we laid it. We must lie on it because it's a big problem. Politicians, when they see the media houses, they know, after all, they're here because I can buy an advert or I can buy them. That's the relationship we build. It's not mutual. Because if it's mutual and professional, they will respect and come. This excuse that the ownership of media houses elsewhere, media houses, all of them are private owned. But politicians respect them because you've kept your line, professional line. And that should be the case.
And the worst part of it is that the 2 leaders, the president and the deputy, have had a lot of negative attitude towards the media. You remember the slogans around itafunga nyama kesho, mnasoma hata misomi magazeti, siangali TV, and we have done nothing. I thought when we were assailed, we would rediscover our position, maybe retreat to strategize and look at the government in a different light, as Danisha said, but we did not. By the way, it is very bad that, when I was in a journalism school, I was told that my role as a journalist is to interview anybody. Right. Even if I was told this is God, then I have to interview the God. And if the world is ending, it's upon me to cover the word of the world. But nowadays, you go to better journalists when they meet a very small politician, they want to take a selfie on their Facebook. So those things are now getting, we are so excited, by the way. Those things are catching up with us.
Because we are all journalists.
Yes. As journalist myself, I have to move on now. Ruko, final comments? You're done?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And finally, President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for the evacuation of residents in insecure parts of Lamu and vowed vengeance against the insurgents behind recent killings of security officers and civilians in the area. The president described the insurgents as terrorists who should be greeted with fire and promised to bury them, in a scathing speech that also called on local leaders and residents to support ongoing security operations. Uhuru warned that he would not allow some Lamu residents to be treated as visitors because all Kenyans are allowed to settle in any part of Kenya. However, a few hours after the president spoke, militants attempted to attack a Lamu police camp, but they were forced to retreat into the Boni forest.
Na mimi nawauliza wenzetu tushirikiane kwa usalama wa Kenya hii yetu. Tunaelewana? Kwa sababu kama mtu amejitolea kuja kuharibu maisha ya watu, kukata vichwa vyao, tunaelewana? Kuua askari yetu, kwa nini nimpembeleze? Hata sisi tutawamaliza. Waende. Na hakuna, I have no apologies to make. None whatsoever. Tunaelewana wenzangu? Hakuna mtu ako na haki ya kuchukua maisha ya mwenzake.
Right, I believe last week we had a very heated discussion about security issues, and we got a lot of responses about not being security experts. Of course, we're not experts, we're just giving context and opinion on the issues of the day. Roslyn, I'll start with you. What do you make of this latest Al-Shabaab kind of flying in the face of authority by trying to attack a police camp hours after the president has said he's going to be very tough on them?
I think the Lamu issue is just showing us that it's turning out to be a hotbed, one of the insecure places in this country. And even as the president went, it was sad that it was just days after one of the top government officials was also attacked. But we've not seen the government come out and explain to us what exactly happened. Even the acting interior cabinet secretary has not told us exactly what happened. We only know the PS was abducted, she was rescued, officers were killed, and we were told that these people came, it was a big group. How comes a big group will come in when we hear that the Mombasa Commissioner Marwa was just having a meeting in Peketoni, which is not far from where this incident happened. So this tells us that these people are telling us we can hit you right within your house and there's nothing you can do. Because how many officers so far have gone down, and they even dared to do it just minutes after the president has spoken. So I think we really need to re-examine our security apparatus and the line of security, especially now that we're just days to the elections.
Right.
Yeah.
This is clearly a very sensitive issue, which begs the question: do we need to know every last detail, given that this is turning into a war-like situation? It's actually a war on terrorism and a war on Al-Shabaab, and of course the operations that they're carrying out that they want to keep silent, Rajab.
I think before Rajab responds, if God rest his soul in peace, the Interior Secretary just passed on. But I think he had a tough position that you will see in his face, and you will send shivers to maybe these militants. We are not seeing that coming from our officers. They need to take that stand. As much as maybe behind the scenes he knew things were not working well, but that tough position also gave us an assurance that actually we are secure.
But Roslyn, listen to this. Hold on, Rajab. The president is saying that they will fight fire with fire and they will bury these terrorists. That's tough language. How much tough do you want him to get?
But I think the president is trying to tell us that he's trying to throw the constitution off the window. He's giving up.
Rajab, there's nothing this president can do that will satisfy you.
Lamu has been having security problems for the longest time. I know.
Yes.
And for a good security operation or a security system, you should have had good intelligence to deter any attacks and arrest any suspect and jail them or prosecute them or use them as people to collect intelligence.
Or execute them.
For how long will we be having attacks in Lamu, whereas we are being told we've beefed up security? What are they doing? Nowadays, you don't fight insecurity with the might of the firepower. You fight it with the brain.
Yes.
Because if you can have 1,000 soldiers or boots on ground,
well, clearly,
but you have only one smart guy who will outwin them, overrun them.
Clearly, Rajab,
So,
there is a problem here. The question is the president doing enough? First of all, by taking a very strong stance and saying that he's going after the charges.
Lastly, on the Lamu issue, there's more than meets the eye. If you really confine yourself to Al-Shabaab, you lose the plot. You should open this wide. Look at the politics around Lapset. Look at the politics around Bond Forest, where Marwez every day is talking about it as if he knows even the people who are feeding others in the forest. But he can't arrest them. He's just speaking about it.
Right.
So,
Danish,
you need to really look at that.
Just the time issue. Danish, please jump in quickly.
I think it is very shameful that some ragtag militias can cross the border and come and abduct not anyone but a PS in this country. It's extremely shameful. Beyond talking tough, that one we're used to it. We want to see action, like Rajab is saying. Let us beef up our intelligence. Let us crush Al-Shabaab. Our army who are in Somalia, can they also maybe come back home and fight from the border within our borders? Can we do something? Can we work? Can we, instead of talking tough, can we do something?
Sorry, Ruko, time up.
But I wanted to say something.
10 seconds.
No, but it's important. Forget about 10 seconds.
Ruko, I'm going to have to cut you off.
There are two issues here. The same government speaking from the two sides of the mouth. Maro has told us that the attacks are political. He knows the attackers. The president is talking about Al-Shabaab. So who is in charge? So there's a whole lot of confusion.
Right. So we can end on that note. Who is in charge? And I'm sure as the weeks and days go forward, we'll understand exactly how this operation is working out. If you don't, then we will accept and move on. But earlier we asked you, should the media be allowed to announce election results before the Electoral Commission? Should the media be allowed to announce election results before the Electoral Commission? 59% of you have said a resounding yes. 41% of you have said no. That's where we end the show. Today I've been joined by Roslyn Obala, Ramadan Rajab, Danish Odongo, Ibrahim Oruko, and of course myself, Julie Masiga. Do join us next week, same time, same place.